SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
Is it still magic?
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity.
Unplugged in, plugged in.
What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sword of blade.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
Good morning, afternoon, evening. We're gonna do it again, folks.
Away, man.
We're going to do it again. And I hope that when this edit reaches the ear holes of our dedicated streaming audience, that Jeffrey just smashes the two together. I hope that you don't cut out the first one, Jeff.
Oh, okay. Well, we could probably make that happen because it recorded on our device. It didn't record on the computer, apparently. But so hopefully they can all hear us this time.
Yes.
I got Nate saying good morning, Daddy Jeep saying morning again, Mudhorn Gladiator, good morning. So we had an audio
dedication.
issue
When
and
you're-
we pivoted.
Pivot!
So
It's dedication when you're first twice.
Billy Joe says it works. So there we go. We're working.
did a
We're
thing.
live. We're live.
And you know what? I want to, as much as we beat up Jeffrey on a fairly regular basis,
Yep.
I do want to give him
Always.
credit for he gets in early on Mondays and he attempted to verify the functionality of the equipment. We had to laugh because we had a laptop that worked soldiered on flawlessly for the kind of the startup of the podcast and its scaling success. And as we continue to grow and we have multiple monitors now and a bigger sound board, and
We should talk about the fact that we actually started off with an Apple laptop, and then because it was not processing fast enough for everything we were upgrading to, we went to the iMac for a short period. I had the actual computer here, and then that's when I purchased the gaming laptop.
And that was all seamless from
and-
one to the other. They
and-
didn't even know that happened.
Correct, and the gaming laptop was phenomenal for a couple years.
right. But we bit off a lot, folks, when with the redesign of this studio and the electrical interface where we have better video quality, better sound quality, bigger mixing boards, multiple monitors. Realistically, there are a couple challenges. And to Jeffrey's credit, I got to tell you guys, I use the terminology duck on water pretty often. You look at that, you look at the duck, and it's sitting on the water, looks pretty calm and put together. But underneath the surface, it's going 1,000 miles a minute. Little legs are going. Obviously, it just kind of glides across the water. But underneath, little butts wiggling, the little pad feet are swinging.
So
and
Jeff's a duck.
that will...
I don't give a duck.
Just keep swimming.
It just keeps swimming. We're mixing analogies now, but that's what Jeffrey was for the last 15 minutes while we had this significant technical difficulty. I was doing a number of other people who have jumped in and said good morning.
Yeah, so we got Kyle saying good morning.
Good
got
morning, Kyle.
Nate saying, making me work for the back-to-back first today.
and
That's
he
right.
did
And you
somehow,
got it. You
remarkably
got it.
so.
Kyle saying, Rob, Daddy Jeep Morgan, just saying hi, I think. He's waving. Then Billy Joe saying, great job, Jeff, for fixing the audio. In all seriousness, electronics for people over 30 is frustrating. Huh. Scott said...
Especially when
good-
Jeff has a audio production degree.
So anyways, then Scott L said good morning, and then Nate saying, Joe O'Brien, where you at? He's
Yeah, Joe
calling
O'Brien
Joe out.
is logged on to the other one, I think, potentially. Folks, and again, obviously we have kind of a jumbled mess, but I think in the true sense of perseverance.
You know what this reminds me of?
Huh.
Logistics.
I would say this is a perfect segue.
And we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking. Today's topic is going to be on the convenience of part store pricing. Is that fair?
No, pricing and logistics in the current market.
Yes, that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's going to be a multi-part series.
Don't worry, Jeff made a really nice outline that has everything on there.
That Neil actually took the time to read
I
and
did.
prepare with. So I don't know where the other one came from.
That's
Well, we're going to be doing the other one.
That's true.
Eventually.
Eventually.
And realistically, there is a whole section in here where there's a whole section about like I see where your discrepancy
And I'm going
leads
to
us.
just let you into the background. Me and Neil, yes, Jeff takes the time, makes this really nice thing. Mine's over here. I don't even read it.
Yeah, that's not
I
a surprise.
just kind of,
You read it,
I glanced at it.
but yeah, you
All
sped
right.
read. But either
Let's
way.
talk about first and foremost. Kudos to the Jeep community for showing up in a absolutely massive manner for the Kania 4th of July parade.
Heck yeah.
And you know what? Hats off to anybody who participated in patriotic displays anywhere else in the country. I saw in a 3 to 5 hour market radius a number of parades that were supported by the Jeep community, or they gave veterans a ride, or they helped in some capacity and they showed off their Jeep, but they had 3, 5, 7 of them show up and kind of supported accordingly. We actually do not have an official count,
That's right.
despite the fact that we actually, as an organization, were in charge of the parade
Well,
in its entirety.
Probably why we don't have an accurate count, honestly.
Yeah.
We were otherwise distracted.
We were otherwise distracted, and despite the fact that I personally dismissed every single Jeep and then doubled them up to the best of my ability, I have no idea how many Jeeps streamed out of there.
So we had at least 10,000 then, because why get? facts
well,
getting-
right? Why not?
have a
Why let
good
the facts
story?
get in the way of a good story?
Yeah. I will say that it was without question the most Jeeps we've ever had for the 4th of July parade.
Yes. Yes.
We had at least 5 lines of Jeeps in the staging area. So
It was stunning.
it was awesome. There was everyone decorated well. We always try to avoid the political, but some people did bring their political support. That is what it is. But it was still
Yeah.
a good time overall.
Yeah.
The other thing was we had a club from Cleveland. Was it Outcast?
It was something Outcast.
Something
yeah.
Outcast, yeah, that came in from Cleveland with I want to say 10 Jeeps from their club.
It was excellent. I mean, it was a great way. I really enjoy the way that the community shows up as a whole, and for the most part, the overwhelming response is always positive. Right? There's always this expectation at this point in time that the Jeeps are going to show up and kind of dominate the space. We welcome any other group to come out and represent similarly, but the Jeep community kind of keeps showing up and getting loud and proud as far as their patriotism and
It was really fun
desire to make the community happy.
because we had the PA system going, so you had really good music up at the front of the area, but then at the way back of the staging for the Jeeps, we had the Outcasts with their sound system just absolutely blasting. So no matter where you were at in the staging area, you could hear music.
Yeah, and it was a fun block party environment. We had taco truck, we had a Kona Ice, we had you had music going off of your truck. It was excellent, and then the parade was good, and the festival was good, and the fireworks were great. It was just a great way for small town America to show up in a big way. So super fun. This past weekend was Oil Valley Jeeps 10 Mile for 2 Mile, which holds a very special place in my heart. I kind of say that about a lot of Jeep events. They hold special places in my heart, but it does. And I know that our very own the Angry Turtle, he went off-roading, introduced a couple other people to the event. Nice turnout, beautiful day of wheeling. Little hot, but that's mainly a tight technical wooded space on a beautiful county facility. And then they also offer a night ride, which will be coming up. And since I was not able to make their summer run, I really, really want to prioritize that night ride coming up in the very near future. Just because I've not done their night ride. And a winter wheeling experience is pretty cool. Additionally, coming up this weekend is the PA All Breeds event, which was an incredibly formative event that I used to attend with the business as a whole for years and years. It was a dedicated part of our show schedule, and realistically has kind of fallen off in our ability to travel just because we're so busy with our service schedule. But I know we have some other acquaintances going. We've had a request for one of our Jeeps to be in attendance there. It's a very, very cool event if you are in the New England area, east of the Appalachian, whatever. Or if you just are looking for a cool Jeep event to go to, that is a great organic group. It used to be held at the York County Fairgrounds, and now it is at the Carlisle Event Center, which we know has its own degree of automotive mecca associated with it. I really want to go, and I'm trying to figure out a way to make that happen.
I don't even
I'm
know
not
how you
sure.
keep all these Jeep events straight at this point. There's
Yeah.
so many opportunities to go to stuff this summer.
There are, and I desire so strongly to be there, but then our work schedule is so demanding. That's challenging. So,
Yeah.
but speaking of keeping things straight, it is also a fair segue into logistics. I know that we've got a bunch of other comments. So I don't know if you want to.
I'm going to jump into the comments real quick because we got Jeannie, the owner of Cookie Monster, saying she made it into the semifinals in the America's Favorite Photo contest with her Jeep. So she's looking for votes on that.
And which contest do we know offhand what that is?
America's Favorite Photo contest. So
Very cool.
Apparently, with that, she was telling me that if she were to win, she gets to pick a charity. So $10,000 will go to the Texas flood victims,
Outstanding.
and then she'll get $10,000 that she can use towards the Cookie Monster build and finishing that up.
Jeannie and her husband are thankless, philanthropic individuals of the Jeep community. They show up. She owns obviously Cookie Monster and the Minion, and her husband actually drives a Jeep for his daily as well. And they show up in a big way at so many events with the expectation to just trying to bring joy to people and share this passion that is the Jeep community in a fun way for kids. Honestly, speaks to a lot of my own interest because, Scott and I have talked over the years. He knows how much I hate car shows and sitting on my dupa in a lawn chair telling people to stay off my paint and don't touch my vehicle, which is, car shows. And, Jeannie's expectation was that she could bring some joy and entertainment to people at somewhat similar events and really show up for youth and young adults in a big way. And we had the opportunity to host them in our booth at Bantam with the Minion. And, man, it was a crowd pleaser, to say the least. And Cookie Monster is her flagship. Well, we're flagship Jeep that she's invested so heavily in over the years that we're currently rebuilding for her.
We got Josh Brucker saying good morning.
Good morning.
Kyle saying he had the opportunity on Saturday to stop by the Erie VA hospital and give 3 Vietnam Marines a ride in his Deuce.
That's awesome.
Bringing good and bad memories back, of course.
Sure.
Daddy Jeep is saying, don't forget Daddy Jeep's hot summer days of wheeling in a couple of weeks.
So I think it's hot summer.
I think it is.
So
but
it's
I'm
like
gonna
a
go with-
hot girl beach walks.
but
And
he said hut, so I'm going with hut. It's like Pizza Hut. Jeannie's Put-in Bay is this weekend too.
Oh, that's true. That's
Right.
true. Though, if you didn't register for Put-in Bay ahead of schedule, that's a little harder to get into. You can still participate as a pedestrian, head over and get involved, but that one usually books out pretty far in advance.
Giaga Jeeper saying good morning. And Joe Harper saying morning from North Carolina. Y'all sound good from here. Getting ready for the new Palmer, New York Jamboree in August.
Outstanding. And I think I saw that Joe Harper got the new Jurassic badge. He may or may not want to weigh in on that one. And if you're not familiar with the Jurassic badge, we can reveal more details as they come out.
Some of those new trails that got released this year as well. I know Micah from Freedom Crawlers is on a group trip. I believe it's this week, going down south, and they're going to hit up at least 1 or 2 of those new
Outstanding.
badges.
Man, I just love how active the community is. Certainly, this time of year in this area. So kudos to all of you. We should talk about logistics because keeping all these events, these trails straight, and
Managing the logistics of the parade, all of it.
yes, badooch. Good job, Jeffrey. So,
He said, sure did. Don't feed the animals to the Jurassic badge.
Yep, very cool. So, Jeffrey, what is the intention for the particular topic at hand, which we obviously had mentioned may span into a couple sessions?
Well, I mean, really, we're going to be looking at what is going on behind the curtain. You know, when we're ordering parts for customers, when we're looking out into the industry and seeing what's available, how the tariffs are affecting things, all of the actual day-to-day operations that the customer doesn't see.
I can sum it up in one word. It's broken.
Well, and I think what's
Or that too.
interesting, I certainly know, oftentimes if you come in and we have an opportunity to chat, we talk about the business as a whole. My vision for the business originally was, I always use the term, was the business that my dad and I needed when we were getting into Jeeping. And there was a couple established companies that were organic in their creation. But by the early 2000s, by 2001 to 2003, specifically within our geographic radius, the particular company that was best suited to the Jeep industry was embroiled in a corporate takeover. It had been purchased by a conglomerate out of Compton, California, and this once kind of organic mom and pop business that was big enough to actually make some inroads within the industry.
Well, and not only that, they had been there long enough. There was actually a community set up around this business. There was, other places to go and things to do in that area. That was a big Jeep experience, all in one area. So it was kind of almost a pilgrimage of, hey, I went to go to this area.
Right, and we used to call it Four Wheel Drive Alley.
Yes.
And as you mentioned, there was a number of different businesses or providers that you could stop into and talk to people who actually made parts or who distributed parts.
Yep.
And there was shows and meet and greets and clubs, and there was enough of this going on. And it was easy from an outsider's perspective, or from myself as a kid, to look at this particular business as the epicenter of action, right? And so
we got I would say a small taste of that, and then it was like ripped out of us because we got to experience how it was.
Yes.
And then we got to experience the corporate change.
Right, the corporate change. Now, realistically, we'll talk about Quadratec and Morris 4x4, OK 4-Wheel Drive. All of those organizations started similarly in the sense that they were kind of small organic outlets for 4-wheel drive parts. And the big thing is, back then, you would get a rag. You would actually get a magazine. And for those who are listening at home, I'm doing a magazine motion,
Best interpretation.
Yeah, with my hands. So you would get a magazine, and in there would be parts and pieces, and much like or a flyer, and much like we used to do, we'd go through with a pen or a marker, and you'd circle, I'm going to save up for this thing, or I'm going to do this thing.
You weren't circling. You're drawing little hearts and flowers around the ones you
my
wanted.
God, arrows,
Yep.
and like it was like totally
If
one of
it-
those conspiracy
if it
theorists.
didn't have all the chrome on
string
it.
boards. Oh, heck yeah, it had all the chrome and light bars. Oh, 100%.
Not only that, they had specific magazines. So if you were a Cherokee owner,
Yep.
there was a specific one for you. There was a specific one for a Wrangler. Made you feel special and invested.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, when you open those magazines, or you went out and you bought JP or you bought Peterson's and you saw the flyer in there, when you looked at those flyers, you believed that all of that product contained in that magazine, it existed and it fit your vehicle appropriately.
Yep.
Because the data said so, right? And I think that's key to this conversation.
And it was hard for you to talk to your neighbor that might have had a bad experience
Correct.
to actually find out that it wasn't the case.
I agree with
Had
you.
to just had take it with faith.
And these big retailers were not telling you, they were not super forthcoming that parts were not so good and parts were good.
And the crazy part is, I legit remember going all the way down. They were over an hour away,
Yep.
getting to the counter, saying, hey, got the money, had time to come down here. And I finally buy them a part, and they go, "Oh, we don't have it.
We don't have it. It's out of stock.
It's out of stock." Or we can get it, but we can't. You can't leave with it today. And we go, "Oh,
Right.
okay." And it was just okay. Well, I guess I'll go to my favorite food establishment. I'll go see that other shop.
Yeah.
It's not a completely bust day, but it kind of took the wind out of your sails a little bit. But you just continued on. Now, today's world, it's like the end of times.
It's what it feels like, right?
Yeah.
Certainly that's the
there-
feedback we get.
We literally talked about how this is at moments this year. It has been similar to COVID times with the parts logistics and how
100%.
you just don't know what actually exists, what doesn't exist. The prices are fluctuating constantly, and that's something that we're going to break down is why are the prices the way they are? Why are our quotes the way they are versus some of the other people?
So, and this is where I'm getting is that the interesting piece was when it existed in print in that magazine, you didn't exactly know the quality. You didn't exactly know nor care the country of origin per se. And that price point was largely fixed for an extended period of time.
yeah,
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me because we just had this consumer expectation that things were more concrete. I feel like they were more steadfast than everything seems so intrepid right now. Things seem in flux constantly.
I even remember the old guy. I'm gonna take my magazine with me because that's got the price in it, and I can jab my finger at it furiously when suddenly they want to up it $10.
I agree. You know what I mean?
and that makes it more challenging for us when we're pricing out quotes. Our quotes don't last as long as they used to because we have to be able to compensate for those price changes. So we went from a 30-day quote to a 14-day quote.
Correct. And in certain situations, I will factually say, I have put on there a 7-day quote.
Yep, absolutely.
Based on what specifically the customer is inquiring, or if I am aware of certain promotions that
Yep.
feel not quite right, and I'm like, wow, this pricing's really low, or if it's the end of the month.
Yep.
And that's just a way to try and ensure that people are being communicated with accurately. But ultimately, we had this kind of steadfast is the word that comes to my mind, experience. And at this point in time, it almost feels like at any given time, and maybe it's just me. I would love to hear from our listeners and our followers. But any given time, it feels like the rug's going to get pulled out from underneath of us.
Yeah.
In some capacity. Now, I don't know how it is for a consumer. Do they see advertised prices and go, oh, that's absolutely it? Or do they see an advertised price and think, well, you know what? Next week I might be $15 more. It might be $5 less. They might be playing games with the pricing. They think like, oh, I can throw it into Google and find this obscure. I'm constantly fascinated by the people who go in and find these obscure websites, and think that somehow that pricing is going to hold. And I'm like, that company doesn't have that part. It can't actually provide it at that price point. It's just like some, pirated information. And that, I think, is one of the most fascinating pieces of the world we're living in. We don't have those paper copies. We don't have those print details anymore. Pricing is constantly subject to...
That's almost a whole nother episode into itself, is like how scams happen and how false sales and that kind of stuff. I mean, I legit got taken by that this weekend.
Oh, dear.
Because I thought, it's good price, been looking at this product, thought, oh, that's a really good deal. There's only 6 available. They had all the right things. At a glance, the website looked legit. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and do it. After the payment went through, I looked at what the name was and went, danger, I'm in trouble.
Oh, no.
Luckily, I did it through PayPal, so I'm okay. But holy crap, that was so easy to get taken. So when people start talking about, oh, there's this little really rinky-dink website, because this one was not. This was a big website, looked legit. They had
Yes.
multiple pages, everything. It was really well done. And but when you just go and just start typing in your credit card information, like, you gotta be careful.
Well, I think that in that pricing and logistics piece, we had 5 to 7 reputable resellers at a time.
Yep.
We didn't have the current market saturation. Now, if we go back even further, you used to have a small hot rod or small 4x4 shop in every town,
Yeah.
or at least, within reason.
And those people were selling the products they had on site.
Correct. They had to do a buy-in. They were selling you, what they wanted to sell you, not necessarily what the best product was coast to coast and north
Yeah,
to
if
south.
they got a buy-in with a certain dealer or program, they would be, okay, we're all this brand
Yep.
for the next 2 months because we've got this great promotion through them.
And
Right.
they're selling off a whole pallet of parts.
Correct. Not exactly the part you were looking for. And I do suspect that there were businesses that were oftentimes saying, oh, well, we're out of stock on this best top part, but we do have this master top part.
Yeah.
Well, that's because that benefited you. Or it was your own house brand. A lot of people don't recognize how many, just from communicating with our customer base, how oftentimes they're looking at specifically extreme terrain or Quadratech, and they're telling me parts that they're wanting to purchase based solely on price point, realistically, and they're just buying the house brand.
Yep.
They think they're buying a developed, reputable brand, and instead you're just actually buying a house brand and
a great value from Walmart.
the great value from Walmart, which I'm not discrediting. Great Value or Aldi's, their house products and whatnot.
Why they do that is because now that is their own product, and they don't have to price match or compete with anyone on a level. And even with name brand stuff, they will change stuff. Like, maybe this company doesn't sell it with, I'll just make something up, the hose clamp, and this other company does. Well, now there's 2 different part numbers, and guess what? They don't have to price match with each other.
Absolutely. And they have a pricing logistics piece. They have bought an entire shipping container worth of product.
Yep.
Right.
And we like to think, and I'm going to use Highline Off-Road. They're now defunct, but Highline Off-Road was a amazing USA manufactured bumper and armor provider. And they took a lot of time and energy and care to ensure that they had the best possible product available to the market. Whereas you take Red Rock bumpers, which is literally just a bottom barrel import product, which is a house brand of one of the retailers I've already mentioned, they don't have the same fit, finish, and follow through that Highline had. It's just meant to be a batch manufactured product that was made overseas and imported. Now, the reality, just that we all talk about, there are not the protections of both chemicals and fine minerals and product raw material sourcing, and then employee wages overseas. And I'm not specifically saying what and when country, just overseas.
Yep.
That we have in the U.S.
Which also means how they recycle the material, what's the steel made out of, which is why in our climate we're seeing some of this stuff not last 6 months before pretty major rust is coming through.
Absolutely.
And people are going, well, what's going on? It's in the steel.
And so these companies who are overseas based can price that product so incredibly low that everybody gets a cut of it. Your importer gets a cut of it. The shipping company gets a cut of it. Your reseller gets a cut of it because, of course, they've commissioned it to be built themselves.
Yep.
And then they can sell it still lower than Highline Off-Road was able to sell their bumpers and make a living on it.
Yep.
And and realistically, there's a bunch of brands that do this. And so when it comes to the aftermarket, people think that there's this discrepancy in pricing, but ultimately those import products are so incredibly cheap in their lowest common denominator that they can still sell and undercut good USA manufacturers.
Yep.
Now, when it comes to OE manufacturing, this is a challenge because if you were to go out and buy a OE bumper, holy cow, is it expensive. I mean, just phenomenally expensive. But there is so much rigor when it comes to fit, finish, and longevity in, say, a steel OE bumper that it is actually in excess of that Highline off-road bumper. And it's a good quality bumper. Funny thing is, I familiar with the three-piece kind of exclusive Rubicon hard rock bumpers, and they're big, high-dollar items. We were at Bantam Jeep Heritage Festival, and there is a gentleman. He comes and he lays out tools and bits and pieces and all this kind of stuff. And there was a pretty darn good knockoff. And I could tell it's a knockoff. I could see it in the way that the metal shape, the stamping was formed, the edges, the fit, all that kind of stuff.
You,
But
you can go online right now at a certain company that starts with an A and buy that bumper.
And I was blown away at how good it looked, though.
Yep.
If I was the average consumer,
Oh, 100%.
and I know that actually one or two of our customers bought that bumper,
Yep.
and basically a brief conversation, I thought it was a great price for what it was. I mean, he was like, I can't not buy it because it is so cheap,
Yep.
and it looks the part, and it's all that I needed in this conversation.
Yep.
He did not have the expectation that he was going to intentionally or purposely go smash it into a tree or a rock or stand his Jeep up on its nose, and needed the actual structural integrity that good quality bumpers were originally intended to provide. But what OE manufacturers do is they have to meet federal crash ratings. They have to meet certain longevity ratings. They're going to be subjected to massive salt and brine and wet heat and cold conditions. And I gotta promise you, all of those Amazon bumpers that Scott was not wanting to mention, none of them are being tested or put through that type of rigor
Through any testing.
whatsoever.
Yep.
100%.
Whatsoever. And as I mentioned in a video recently, when that aftermarket company builds a product, it is not built from factory specifications.
Nope.
9 times out of 10, it is built from what we affectionately call a test mule Jeep.
Yep.
Basically, they buy a Jeep and they start testing pieces on it. If that Jeep is a little off in its shape, its fit, its finish, the hole's just a little off just because of a quirk that specific Jeep had.
They bought it from a scrapyard because they needed a cheap project to work on to test parts.
We know businesses that have done that.
Yeah.
We know
On top
that.
of that, it goes in the saying, like, you guys that have been in this a long time, remember it was kind of ish going to fit when you were doing with CJs and YJs. TJs weren't really even a thing then.
Correct.
Well, that's because the building tolerance for a CJ and a YJ was, well, hit it with a hammer, it'll kind of fit
Sure.
stuff.
Get the torch out and open that hole up a little bit.
So that means that test mule Jeep was kind of very individual. It wasn't very much like your Jeep in fit and finish. So when the bumper fit that one perfect, it didn't really fit yours.
Correct.
And the only reason those people are able to do such a high quality now is because the OEs have upped their quality, and gaps are better and tolerances are better because now we have laser measuring. We have kind of more development on that. Now, the flip side of that is back in the day is like, well, I don't know if an eighth of an inch will do it, but if we make it a quarter, it definitely will. So
Yes.
we'll just go ahead and up the thickness. Now we can computerize tell you, well, I can actually do it with 0.45 thickness.
Sure.
And that's what we're going to do because that's going to make it exactly what it needs to be,
Yeah. Right. It's optimized.
which means its lifespan is optimized,
Yes.
where you can't just go beat something within an inch of its life and it just keep doing it because it's overbuilt.
So, I mean, and that's what our contention with OE. Oftentimes I see online, a lot of businesses are like, oh, don't pay those dealership prices. And I understand dealership labor rates and kind of erroneous charges after you've had a vehicle, dealer serviced. And I'm not getting into that necessarily. The parts themselves are typically optimized and I don't want to say they're overbuilt. I don't want to use that term.
I mean, technically, compared to their competitors, they are.
I agree, right? They're not overbuilt in the sense that they're a 1/4 inch thick or 3/4 inch thick plate steel.
And it's also an uncomfortable conversation is if enough people keep buying the cheaper product and you can't sell the more expensive product, the market takes care of itself. The more expensive product goes away, and now you are just stuck with a cheaper product. Now, in my own head, I think it kind of eventually, over a long period of time, fixes itself, which is what we see in wheels. At this point, you cannot buy an American-made alloy wheel.
Correct.
And because of that complete market shift, now all the competition is, again, on one playing field.
Yes.
So now I'm going to have quality differences. I'm going to have a bargain basement quality that you're going to buy it so cheap, you're going to like, it broke in half. Oh, that's fine. And then you're going to have a higher quality wheel. But any other market where it's split between the U.S. and over there, it's harder to compete because that person making it here, well, what are you going to cut? Because if we go and you buy your brand new Jeep and just continue that bumper conversation, and the front bumper rusts in a year,
Sure.
you're going to be up the OE's butt.
Yep.
So what do they do? Where do they cut
you
the
think about
corner?
that. Think about the corrosion issues on the doors, right?
Yep.
Of our OEs. We're going on 7, 8 years.
Yep.
The OEs have had to put out so much money because of those corrosion issues, because people who are driving a 5-year-old vehicle, after paying a nominal, like an appropriate agreed upon rate, are like, well, my door shouldn't be corroding. That's true. I agree with you. But then you turn around and you go and you buy an Amazon bumper and it rusts within,
The first
13,
winter?
14 months.
Yep.
And you're like, well, you know what? That's okay. Somehow we create this cognitive dissonance where it's like, oh, because I only paid a fraction of the OE's cost of this bumper, it's okay that it is problematic.
Yep.
And that piece is lost on me. But ultimately, we use a lot of OE parts, is kind of what I was sharing, because they are constantly redeveloping them. They're constantly having to reevaluate, because the production of that vehicle kind of is, you're looking at the JK, the TJ, when they're pushing 10 plus years, they're having to refine that part over and over again.
Yep.
Whereas when you get a product from something that's made, and I'm going to throw Duralast under the bus on this one, you go to AutoZone and you buy a Duralast part, they're just buying from the lowest common bidder of a mass marketing process. They just say, hey, we need this oil filter housing assembly, and we want to buy 10,000 units, and we want to buy that 10,000 units at $40,000. Who's willing to give that to us?
Yep.
And 3 or 4 or 5 factories from all over the globe submit their bids, and then AutoZone picks their bid from there.
And there will be some quality control associated with it, because they're not going to want to just constantly sell junk and have to return everything. But the margin for error is significantly higher in a box store than coming from OE.
And you can see that in their metrics if you pay attention, because they will change something about the product. And then that, even though that has maybe a lifetime warranty or 2-year warranty or whatever like that, I have been bitten by this multiple times where, well, actually that product that you have the warranty on doesn't exist anymore because I've changed the sticker, I've changed the name, whatever I want to call it. And
It's coming from a different factory.
for customer service, they'll give you one,
Yep.
but your warranty is gone.
Yes.
And that is all she wrote. Well, at that point, your lifetime warranty isn't good.
Right. And that is just a little bit of the logistics game. And we're seeing more and more of that relevant by today's standards. Now, Scott had touched on this and just kind of keeping everybody on the same page. We've kind of presented the conversation around OE parts sourcing, aftermarket parts sourcing, which is pretty much anything that was not originally built or installed from the original equipment manufacturer. because again, they have certain stringent standards that their legal team and their engineer team and their bean counters all say they have to minimum that they have to meet. It's a highly regulated market and therefore reflected in the cost of it. Then you go into the aftermarket where it is a highly deregulated market. And realistically, from my particular kind of capitalist entrepreneurial mindset, I'm okay that it's a deregulated market, but I put a lot of the responsibility on the consumer and the resellers. And so if you are a dissatisfied consumer, I'm going to be like, well, that's on you and the company you bought the product from to figure out, right?
Yes.
Because that's where I believe. That's not the manufacturer. You had all the means to educate yourself. And if you went in and you bought a poor quality wheel simply based on price point, or I didn't know what I didn't know, and I hear that all the time, and I do excuse you constantly for that, but I still hold you responsible for making those choices.
And an example that just popped into my head is something I saw on the internet last couple of days. Somebody said they upgraded their winch from a Badlands to a Smittybilt.
Nope, you sure didn't.
And I had to chuckle to myself.
Wow.
And why that's a cognitive dissonance, because they assume that Harbor Freight is a cheaper company, that they're going to be cutting out something, which in reality is not the case.
Right.
But why does Warren sell a not USA winch? Because Smittybilt and Badlands and I can't think of any other ones, but I'm sure there's more,
Sure.
take such a market share
Yep.
that they have to have something to compete with that.
Yes.
So therefore, you have a USA manufacturer going overseas and buying a winch.
Yes.
And yes, they have their quality control of their business. That's where it's regulated in my eyes, is that Warren is doing their own regulation. They're going to say, hey, if it's going to have the W on it, it's got to meet some of this criteria.
Yes.
But at some point, they're giving up something.
Correct. There's just something that is different than they were manufacturing in the States.
Yep.
And
And I do get it. Like a $3,000 winch is hard pill to swallow.
Yes.
It is. But that's why that happens.
Yes. And I personally see it the most in, and they'll say, well, we established the standards at which the winch is built. And I had this conversation with a clutch manufacturer specifically. And they told me, oh, we're still building the OE specifications. Well, I got to tell you, when that clutch was manufactured in Wooster, Ohio, I could absolutely whomp on it, beat the tar out of it, and never, it would come back asking for more in our Jeep applications.
Yep.
In an affordable clutch. As soon as that clutch moved to Mexico in its manufacturing, we literally went through a series of warranty and kind of explosive situations where the clutches basically overheated.
Yep.
And the clutch material itself came apart.
Yep.
That's a fact. We experienced that. And I had the opportunity. I was sitting on the plane coming back from a trade show with one of their outside sales reps, and he said, oh, no, we still manufacture them the exact same. Well, then why did you leave Wooster, Ohio? Why? No, you did something different,
Well, they're able to change the friction material or how it's riveted on or something like
the
that.
person who's assembling it has less cares, and they're
Yes.
just showing up working for, pennies, basically.
Well, and once it goes overseas, your quality control goes to 1 or 2 pieces out of 1,000 in a batch
Yep.
versus 20 to 30 pieces in that same batch.
Well, and again, to kind of go back to the Warren thing, where I have seen the quality difference from the cheaper Warren to the more expensive Warren is your cheaper Warren starts to corrode and rust. And we see that quite severely. Now, what does a winch manufacturer kind of want to talk about? Pulling,
Yep.
strength, how often you can pull it, that kind of stuff. So what are they going to cut? Because you got to cut something.
they don't care about the materials of the handle, for example.
Yep.
That corrodes away. They don't care.
Yep.
Because the functionality is still there.
Because when in the bench test, when somebody's going to go and buy all these winches and they're going to take them to failure, that's what sells the winch.
Right. They're
Yep.
going for duty cycle, line speed, and that number, and then the aesthetic. Winch winch aesthetics, and you're listening to us right now. There is a reason old school, highly functional winches are not easily sold anymore. They all went to this sleek
ugly.
kind of, yeah.
They're ugly.
And those are the ones. If you own a tow truck or if you're in the recovery industry, you're buying that old school looking, really simple, looks like a tube basically winch. And there's nothing exciting about a winch. Winches weren't status symbols at one time. They were just meant to function as an insurance policy or for extreme recovery situations.
Yep.
They have become the equivalent of wearing your Nike Air Jordans on the front of your Jeep, which is the argument of why somebody quote unquote upgraded from their Harbor Freight to their Smittybilt.
Yep.
You sure didn't.
Yeah.
You just went through the perception of going from, in theory, a Kmart shoe to a Nike.
Yeah.
And there's nothing, honestly, there's really, even if it's a bottom of the barrel Nike, that's all you're thinking that it is.
Yeah.
It could still, I mean, I think about it all the time when I talk about shoes. You can still buy $150, $200 shoes, or you can go to a bargain place and buy them for $50, $60, same brand. Well, there's a reason. They were just manufactured differently, less materials, same name, different type of manufacturing process. And so with the material conversation and the winches specifically, we should definitely talk about the steel and aluminum and rubber pricing and the fact that so much of this is coming, we're running into raw material issues.
Let's just talk about the fact that aluminum doesn't exist easily right now.
That's fascinating to me. And Scott brought up right now, and I'm going out on a big limb, and I do know that there is a handful, a minor, small, minute, niche market handful of USA manufactured wheels. Okay, but
Yeah.
by the whole,
But-
by 98% of aluminum wheels,
If you go to purchase a wheel easily
yes,
and you want it within the month,
yes,
you're buying an import wheel.
that is correct. I challenge anybody listening to that fact.
And I welcome it because we want to talk to that person if they can get a USA wheel inside of a month and have good results of it.
Yes,
We're here for it.
yes,
We'd
we would love
the
that to
thought.
be the case.
Yeah.
Because years ago, both steel and aluminum wheels were manufactured here in the States. Now,
Yep.
I'm not discrediting any aluminum wheels made overseas because, quite frankly, there came a point in my talking points about 8 to 9 years ago where I had to be like, honestly, they all come from overseas and they all actually spin pretty decently because our overseas aluminum wheels used to not be good.
Correct.
And
But that's what I was saying. All the market has gone to one location. Now it's an even fight again
yes.
because now it's not a labor